Hi, there's an elephant in the room that's not being discussed in the great debate about why the Glazers have not yet sold our football club. So today I want to tackle what I believe is one big reason the Glazers are taking their time and why it's a contributing factor that pushes the Glazers towards a preferred deal with Sir Jim Ratcliffe. In short, it's the political ramifications of a Jewish family selling to an Arab state aligned to a militant group at war with Israel. Just to be clear, I'm not saying here what I prefer to happen, only what I observe. No drama, no sensationalism, just an honest assessment. And the outcome, I believe, remains as uncertain as it's ever been, despite many claims to the contrary. What I see is the Glazers still trying to push up the price and to leverage their continued finger in the pie. Earlier this week, we've seen a lot of noise confidently predicting that Qatar will soon be the new owners of Manchester United Football Club. We're seeing promotional content telling us how the Gulf state are going to change the face of Old Trafford and our football team. But we haven't heard from the Americans, of course, who currently own our football club. No surprise there, you'll say. The Glazers have been silent for most of the 18 years they've held this football club hostage for their own personal gain. For much longer than that, Israel have held the Palestinians hostage in a narrow strip of land called Gaza. Some call it the world's biggest open-air prison. The atrocities we've seen unfolding with both Hamas and Israel committing grotesque crimes of war are horrific. The background is complicated, not least because Hamas is an organisation that rules Palestine with an iron fist of terror, and they don't peacefully represent the Palestinian people. Whether you want to call Hamas terrorists or freedom fighters, without doubt they are a militant group guilty of the most evil brutality. What draws Qatar into this conflict is that the leaders of Hamas live in the luxury of a 5-star accommodation in the Gulf state's capital city of Doha. So, an Arab state protecting a persecuted Arab regime, or an Arab state protecting and sponsoring terrorists? These are muddied waters. And on the other side, we have the uncompromising might of the Israelis, armed and funded by the Americans, so heavily armed and protected that the Palestinians have always been at their mercy. And now they are literally being starved to death, a gross violation of international law by Israel. So, what's this all got to do with our football club? Well, the simple answer is this. The Israeli government have pleaded with the Glazers not to sell Manchester United Football Club to the Arab state of Qatar. It's as simple as that. My sources tell me that Israel have asked the Glazers not to sell to Qatar. Whether or not that ultimately stops the Glazers cashing in, only time will tell. But I don't believe Sheikh Shazim and his team expect anything to happen in their favour while this conflict is burning so brightly in the global spotlight. While the Qataris may claim they are purely acting in the role of mediators, the fact remains that they are harbouring Israel's sworn enemies. And it's widely believed that Qatar also helps to fund Hamas and its military operations. The Glazers, you may think, are only interested in money and how much the oil-rich Arabs may pay them. But we do know the Glazers are politically motivated. It's well known that several members of the Glazer family have made huge donations to Donald Trump's presidential campaign on numerous occasions in the past. When Trump was president, he anointed Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, in effect ending the possibility that East Jerusalem would ever belong to a Palestinian state. And of course, America as a nation remains Israel's biggest supporter. So, what do you think? Are the Glazers really going to cash out in favour of the Qataris when they're so closely aligned with Hamas? They may have remained silent when Paul Pogba and Amad Diallo paraded around Old Trafford carrying a Palestinian flag a couple of years ago, but it's an entirely different proposition for the Glazers to sell our football club to Qatar, especially while Sir Jim Ratcliffe is offering them a seat at the table with a partial sale. There's also the possibility that the Glazers may risk a political intervention if they go against Israel's wishes. The UK government have already declared their unwavering support for Israel. And if Qatar is deemed to be too closely aligned with Hamas, who knows how that will be viewed if this war intensifies. I am aware the UK do have a military partnership with Qatar, and we also sell them weapons. And that's a multi-billion-pound deal. But we all saw how Roman Abramovich was kicked out of Chelsea, despite Russia previously being a substantial trade partner and a major sponsor of the Tory party, no less. So it's no surprise in my mind that Bloomberg and the business world in general are now reporting that the Glazers prefer doing a deal with Sir Jim Ratcliffe. Make of that what you will. But let me finish by repeating what I said earlier. My information is the Israeli government have pleaded with the Glazers not to sell Manchester United Football Club to the Arab state of Qatar. Whether or not that will influence the Glazers, I really don't know. Let me know what you think.